evening. This is Michelle in Ghana. I actually just came home from, I was at the Haven in Cape Coast most of the afternoon. Our driver was late picking us up. I'm actually here fixing to fill up some water for the night and so on. But this video I was thinking of doing tomorrow. I may not have a time, and I don't want to be distracted, and I don't want to forget what I was thinking. You know, it's like a flashback to that COVID period when I was in the US and the whole idea of choices. I did a video recently, I think it was since this week too, regarding what freedom is and the fact that it was subjective. And all of this coalesced in my mind because of what she said about South Africa rolling out a trial vaccine or something thereabouts. The focus is not really on what South Africa is doing, but what it triggered in my mind, the whole idea of vaccines. And you're bombarded by a whole lot of noise and snippets of news over whatever particular period, over a particular subject, in this case the idea of vaccine. And what bombarded my mind was the whole thing of the choices leaders in Africa make that further subjugate their people and exploit them. And this is not me speaking to any specific country in Africa. This is not me speaking to any specific leader. In my mind, many of them are in many ways or some ways a part of the problem in the choices they make when it comes to ruling their own parts or areas of Africa. And this is, in my personal opinion, outside of what the AES, the Sahel region, is doing to change the narrative or the status quo. But so many leaders have allowed their country to be abused as experiments and with the use of experimental drugs and so on. And the flashback I had was my situation and my choices while I was living in the US and teaching. I think this is a perfect example of lack of freedom in choices, because here I am in the US, teaching in the US, and the narrative is at the time, or was at the time, that unless you have taken a vaccine, you were restricted to what you can do, where you can work, and all those things. And I remembered my brother is a citizen in the UK, and I felt his situation was different in that he could choose as a citizen to refuse the vaccine. And I remember he was giving me all the reasons why I shouldn't take it. And the fact of the matter is, he had sound reasons. But here I was in a country teaching. It was my bread and butter. I had persons depending on me. My children were depending on me. And the choice was only one: take the vaccine, continue to work. Of course, I prayed over it and all of that. But the other choice was not taking the vaccine. But then not taking the vaccine started a whole host of other chips falling in line. Returning to Jamaica. And then returning to Jamaica, what was the difference? Just being required to fly out of the country at the time required you to take the vaccine, and then take the vaccine or prove that you have taken it when you were entering Jamaica. So it was me being between a rock and a hard place. And the whole thing just put me, I shouldn't say put me, it begged the question when I heard the South Africa trial thing. Would I be in a better situation or a different situation being here in Africa? And I'm asking you guys this question. For those persons in Africa and those persons, and not, this is Africa, anywhere in Africa, as well as persons here in Ghana, would you feel, or would you feel in that same circumstance of choice if you are living in Ghana? Would you feel you have the power to reject accepting another vaccine rollout because there's a strong belief that there's another COVID-2 coming? Not COVID, but another pandemic that pulls or put us in the same situation that we were when COVID-19 run. Would living in Ghana put me in the same position of choice? Can I say, therefore, if they are saying that there's another pandemic, you need to take a vaccine, can I say, no, I don't, or refuse to take it? Can you, those who are living here already, have been living here for years, those who were here in COVID, because I know that persons from the diaspora were living here, could you, did you, were you one of those persons who could say, I am not taking the vaccine, and it did not affect your livelihood or anything? Because I think that is one of the questions persons who are coming to Ghana need to ask themselves. Will they be in a better position to choose? Would they have the freedom of choice if they came to Africa? I know what my answer is. I know what my opinion is, what I think. But what do you think? Is living in Ghana, living in South Africa, Nigeria, Kenya, any of these African countries, and this is the diaspora and persons who move from the Western countries, the persons who had a taste of what COVID caused, are you persons whose choice was taken away too when you experienced COVID, right? Do you feel that you'd be in a better position to choose for yourself living on the continent of Africa? Because that too is something that would be good to know if you are someone thinking of coming here. Because the fact of the matter is, if another pandemic comes out, and I'm reading because I think I got a bite. I got bitten a while ago. It's burning. I guess I need to start moving and stop, standing still. But I just felt I needed to ask that question. And even though I'm talking now, I don't recall everything that came to mind while I was in Cape Coast. Because it was just a thought that hit me and so many things rolled out in my mind. But I think that was the essence of it. What the situation I was trapped in when I was there. So many Americans who, because they were Americans, they could say, I'm not taking the vaccine. Some of them even walked off their jobs. Because their choice was not to take the vaccine, and that was a consequence of. Now, I was there on a visa. I was there on a J1 visa at the time, which is even more nuts. Well, neither the H1B nor the J1 have any power there. But as a teacher there on a visa, there I had no choice. Well, I had choices. And I chose to take the vaccine. And I had reasons not to. And I had reasons too not to decide to go back home. Because it wouldn't have changed. If I decided I wasn't taking the vaccine, it wouldn't have stopped me from having to take the vaccine, if you get what I'm saying, if I left the country after leaving the job. Right? So, it was a choice that was not a choice. But now, living in Ghana, I have to ask myself that question. If the same situation developed here, could I say, and keep in mind, I'm not a citizen here, I'm just a resident, right? So would I have the same? Did you have the same? Those who are living here, did you have that choice? And for those who have not yet, have you thought about this? Thought of the possibility of being in this position, and what do you think your choice would be? Feel free not to answer, but I am very interested to know what some persons think about this, because that too is an aspect of moving from the US to Ghana. I know there are many things you can choose for yourself, and there's a freedom here to choose that you definitely don't have in the US, but this is the one I'm focusing on. All right, I hope you get what I'm saying. I hope you get what I'm asking, and I'm looking out for the comments. Michelle here again in Ghana. As I said, it's evening now after 6, and it's time for me to kind of close down and drift and relax. All right, see you in another video.